Yes, I know you read the title. I am crazy, thank you for asking. And I am aware what I'm getting myself into, but I'm doing it anyways. Can I beat Fire Emblem Engage without taking any damage? There's going to be a few extra rules for this run to make things more clear. I will be using DLC. This may seem controversial to some due to the power it provides, but I really think I'll need all I can to finish this run. Grinding will not be allowed. The main goal of this run is to manage my resources as perfectly as I can in order to avoid damage whenever possible. If I were able to grind skirmishes, it would take away most of the strategy and just kind of become a farming simulator. Finally, I will be counting turn wheel uses. This means if I take damage and use the turn wheel to reverse time, this run still counts. Yes, I could completely reset to my last save every time I take a hit, but for the sake of my sanity, I'm just going to run with this. The goal anyways is not to rely on RNG the whole time, so hopefully this won't affect the run too much. It's worth noting that I didn't just come up with this run. In the past I did a full playthrough of the Sacred Stones damageless. It was supposed to be made into a video, but I got a bit sidetracked. You know what? For the fun of it, here are some highlights of that mess. The main reason that project never came to be was the scope. I'm just one person, and it didn't take too long to realize that the project was just too big for me alone. So this time around, the run is going to be split up into multiple parts. The biggest roadblock to this idea is that I still haven't even finished the run. In this particular video, I'm only going to be covering the first few chapters, but I might do more per video in the future. With that all out of the way, the run can finally begin. I name myself No Damn because of the character limit and set my birthday to a day after the run begins. I choose normal difficulty because I need all the help I can get, and play in classic because it literally doesn't matter if a unit dies. Reminder that any damage, which includes fatal damage, causes a reset. I choose random gross because I'm a psychopath and play offline for literally no reason. Let's just call online mode cheating or something, I don't know. After watching the opening cutscene, we make our way to the tutorial fight against the final boss. Spoilers, I suppose. I immediately counter a giant issue. How do we avoid taking damage in this fight? Sombron has 100% accuracy on his weapon, and we have no chance to land a critical hit. Even if I could land a crit, it would still not kill in one round. I try to walk around a bit to maybe find a defense tile or something, but seriously, it's just an empty rectangle with us and the damn final boss. With no other choice, we get in range and let him attack on enemy phase. After doing that one more time, we charge Alir's engage meter and can now use Lodestar Rush. Unfortunately, there is absolutely no way to avoid damage in the tutorial chapter. Though there is one important thing to note about these events, that they're literally just a dream. None of that actually happened. Even ignoring all the royals we see, the events of Sombron's death take place completely differently both times. So yeah, the run continues safe and sound. We wake up to two annoying little freaks and they immediately put themselves into danger. A group of corrupted surrounds the group as we reach one of the hardest chapters of the early game. The resources at my disposal are next to none, having only 2 units at my control. Speaking of which, we have to talk about the green elephant in the room. Ally units are a semi-common occurrence throughout the game. They are stupid. They will not attempt to avoid danger, and will almost seem to throw themselves into bad situations. I will not be cutting them as my own units, and therefore, them taking damage is not my problem. Moving on to the real threat. Vander and Alir have 3 X-Fighters breathing down their necks, and I have to do something about it quickly. Through some trial and error, I realized what the developers probably wanted me to realize. We can use Alir's personal skill, Divinely Inspiring, to give close allies a -1 damage bonus. This allows Vander to take 0 damage from the 2 close corrupted. Moving both Alir and Vander into the forest tiles gives them an avoid bonus of +30. This allows Alir to have barely just enough avoid to dodge tank the first set of enemies. After surviving the first enemy phase, the two can easily clear out the weakened adversaries. Realizing her ally's death is imminent, Alir activates Gamer Mode and summons her Stand to defeat the remaining corrupted. I do find it funny how much they struggle to deal with just one of them, but I suppose they didn't get hit in the cutscene, so it doesn't matter to me. Anyways, with our new emblem, Illyria is granted many new abilities which will help in this run immensely. There's two which are most relevant to the run. The first is a skill called Perceptive, which grants a void for initiating combat. The next is Illyria's Rapier weapon when synced with Marth, which grants a large avoid bonus compared to regular weapons. The chapter actually sets it up perfectly to show the new skills in action. When standing on this forest tile and initiating combat with the rapier, the enemy has a 0% chance to hit, no luck required. I leave Vander to hang out while dealing with the rest of the enemies with Illyria alone. Even on enemy phase, the corrupted only reach a 14% hit rate, so odds are definitely in my favor. I finish off the last corrupted with Lodestar Rush. While it does a lot of damage, the attack's biggest boon is by far its ability to ignore counterattacks. This will definitely come in handy later. I'm introduced to one of the new mechanics that engage once the first cutscene is done, the ability to explore maps after battle. While not the most impactful, most maps have some nice benefits, like items, animals to adopt, and bond crystals. I skip through the cutscenes and we reach Chapter 2, which is a training match against Lumera. Normally this wouldn't be too hard, but since I don't have the Dragon Crystal yet, every enemy I encounter could be a reset. With Clan and Fram being added, we're introduced to multiple new mechanics, the first being Chain Guard, which is next to useless. While it would seem nice at first to negate damage from enemies, the unit using Chain Guard will always take damage if the ability procs, so that's off the table. The much more relevant mechanic is that of clans. Being able to safely deal chip damage so that our one range units can finish off enemies is something I will have to utilize. In terms of this chapter, I can safely bait out the axe unit on enemy phase, and then let clan deal with it on player phase. That exact concept I brought of chipping down our enemies comes into fruition nearly immediately. Illyria is unable to take out Lumera with one Lodestar Rush, so I let Clan get a free attack and then finish her off. The chapter is actually split into two parts. For this next half, Lumera summons Sigurd to incredibly increase her movement. The first Axe Fighter is safely taken out, but I don't know how to count, so Lumera leads to a few resets. After not baiting myself into Lumera's range, Clan can easily take out the Lance Fighter and Illyria the Bow User. In order to actually defeat Lumera, I have to bait her into range with Illyria. If I actually remember to equip the right goddamn weapon, it's actually pretty likely I avoid her attacks in a forest tile. I then finish off with another Lodestar Rush. Illyria is given Liberation, or however you pronounce it, and we move on to the next chapter safe. In the middle of the night, the castle is attacked. I have to fight my way across the bridge to the main temple. Remember how I said Chain Guard is useless? Well, it still is, but that doesn't mean I can't have my own form of Chain Guard. When standing next to Illyria, Fram grants them both plus 10 avoid. This skill can be used as a knockoff version of the real Chain Guard that I can actually use. It will be especially useful early on, like against the whole left side of the map. Illyria easily takes out the first few enemies and just getting hit by a fucking 8%, Jesus Christ! Anyways, we get some reinforcements early on which can clear up the right half of the map. After that, Illyria restores the ring energy with the tile on the floor, and I prepare for the next wave. I suppose now is a good time to talk about the new units I got. Both Alfred and AT are very good on this particular map. Alfred can break the sword fighters around the upper part of the map. AT can easily deal chip damage to nearly every enemy and does boosted damage against flyers like the Pegasus Knights in the air. I'm able to utilize nearly every one of my units to finish off the chapter and beat the boss. Like I said earlier, Alfred and AT both chip down a sword fighter, and both Boucheron and Fram finish them off. Vander just barely reaches the bow user behind the boss and one-shots them. I let Clan deal most of the damage and then finish off the boss with Illyria. I should probably mention why some of my units have less than max health in the footage I'm using. This is not some sneaky damage I'm trying to avoid mentioning. I'm just having my units level up, which on occasion raises their max HP. So when Illyria levels from having 24 to 25 HP, she appears to have lost health, when in actuality is staying at the same health level. Got it? Good. We finally make it to the Somniel for the first time. Not that there's much to do, but we do get access to the Fey weapons and bond rings. For now I'm going to be skipping through most of the Somniel time, only really bringing things up when relevant. Moving on to the next chapter, we unlock one of the most broken units in the game for this run, Louis, along with the much less exceptional, but still good, Chloe. They're separated from the rest of the army at the start of the chapter, but it won't be too long till they meet up again. For now I give the Sigurd ring to Fram, because having high movement and Canto on a ranged unit can't be that bad, and then I head into the chapter. I also completely forgot to equip the hero's bond rings, but the stat boosts aren't that important at this point. Once the chapter begins, Saline joins the party with the Celica ring. While seemingly strong at first, Celica's ring is down there as one of the worst rings for this run. The reasoning behind we will get to soon enough. As for keeping both Louis and Chloe safe, they actually make it pretty easy. Louis can just barely make it out of the mage's range turn 1, and Chloe can easily fly over the water to avoid enemy ranges. Fortunately, next to none of the physical units in this chapter can even damage Louis, allowing him to just tank any hits he needs and make his way back to the main group. Alir and Clan can easily take care of most of the units in the north, while I send the majority of my forces to the east to deal with the larger volume there. I use Salien's Warp Ragnarok early on to not have to deal with a faraway bow user, and have Louis run away even further to avoid the singular mage chasing him, all while taking hits easily from every other enemy. I then send Chloe down to help the rest of my army deal with the lower group of enemies. I ignore saving the house in the middle as it's simply too dangerous to safely handle. Using Sigurd's Override, I can chip down the mage and safely take it out with Louis. In the nearby fortresses, reinforcements start to appear. Luckily, they're just flyers that AT and my other ranged units can easily take care of. The attacks of the two Armor's Knights absolutely bounce off of Louis and are safely taken out with Alir and Fram's Chain Guard. It's worth noting that in this chapter I get access to javelins. This is another form of safe range damage like bows and magic. I let the rest of my army catch up to the top half of the map before I start my assault on the boss. Louis one-shots the mage and I attempt to tank the boss using my unit's skills. While Louis is incredibly bulky, he only has 16 defense at the moment, so the boss attacking with their steel lance would still deal damage. Louis' skill Admiration gives him increased bulk when nearby allies are female. Yeah, I know it's weird. This, along with Allura's skill that reduces damage to nearby allies, should let Louis completely negate the boss's damage. Wait, oh god, I'm stupid, the boss had a javelin and can attack at range. Okay, so I did get lucky, but sometimes you just gotta take those. In order to actually take out the boss, I move Louis out of the choke point in order to stand on the fortress and properly tank the boss's attacks. After that, I'm able to spam engage attacks until the boss dies. Thank goodness they disallow enemy counterattacks when used. But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up for now. I've successfully beaten 4 chapters, having taken no damage of any sort. I plan to keep it that way. Remember to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on the rest of the series, and I'll see you guys next time.